All right, now I've got my GIF animation, and I have my GIF looping animation, and I have my full resolution PSD. And I want to open up the full resolution PSD, which is cropped, but otherwise shows me everything without limiting the colors to only 256 colors. And now I want to make my storyboard of it. And remember, my storyboard started as a sketch, and it might have changed drastically from there. But this was my sketch idea, to have kind of a beginning and a middle and an end, where the egg is intact and then starts to crack, and then the middle is exposed and then it gets completely destroyed. Now my trick is to find the 9 images that will tell this story and to present them in a clean way. So the first thing I'm going to do is take all of my finished and processed exposures in this Photoshop file. I'm going to go to the very top layer, and I'm going to say flatten frames into layers. So this is the opposite of make frames from layers. Instead, I'm going to take the existing frames I have, and I'm going to make them into their own 100% layers. This is important to do so that all the adjustment layers get built into the individual layers themselves. And then they are named frame, starting frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, and so on. Now I can erase all the layers underneath that aren't titled frame 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And I have 24 frames in all. I messed up my animation already, but I don't need this for animation, so I can select all those frames, drag them down to the trash. Do not hit delete, just drag them to the trash. And then you can turn off your timeline, because now what I'm interested in are just these individual frames. Now each is a 100% layer with all of the color adjustments already built into them. And what I need to decide is, what is that middle moment that I'm going to grow my other exposures around. I also need to shrink this, because I want it to be printable, but I don't need it to be 8 by 8 inches by 150. I want it to be 3 inches by 3 inches by 350, like we did for our contrast projects and our texture studies. And that probably will shrink the image, but it's still perfectly good resolution for what I want to be able to do. So 3 by 3 by 350. That will change the resolution on all of your layers. And now I am going to save this as another name, because I don't want to overwrite my Photoshop animation. And I'm going to call this Carl Fry Assignment 11 Storyboard. And it's my final storyboard, not my sketch, as a PSD to the desktop. All right, I know that that will be my first frame, but what I'm most interested in is, what is my middle frame? What is this one? And I have 24 to choose from. But you can see this is all my beginning, this is all my middle, and this is all my end. So I want the middle of the middle. That one's pretty good. That one's almost identical. So it's almost just personal taste. That would be a good one to end the middle part. So I think I'll go with frame 10 here as my middle. And I might mark that with a color by right-clicking around the eyeball and marking it with a color. So if that's my middle, this is the frame I want to build my canvas around. This is 3 inches by 3 inches by 350. So I want to make my canvas size 12 inches by 12 inches with an expansion color of white growing from the middle. And I can add a new layer in behind everything like we did for digital coloring, and I just fill it with white so I can see everything clearly. And now I have frame 10 showing. It's the only thing showing. I'm going to draw guides to lock to it. I can get rid of all these other guides, or I can just move these guides around. But I want to lock to the edges of this new frame. And then I want to use the grid and have equal spacing. And I'm going to use a 1/2 inch spacing between all of them, which is 2 of the little squares. Right, so now without the grid, you can see I have my center frame, and then I have equal 1/2 inch spacing all around it. And now I simply have auto select layer unselected, and I select my first frame, and it's like shuffling cards or dealing from the bottom of the deck. And I can start putting them in different positions and deciding which ones I want to keep and which ones I don't. So I have a lot to choose from. I want to start with that one for sure, but I don't think I want this one. I don't think I want that one. Don't think I want that one. So maybe this will be my second frame. This would be a good third frame. But maybe this one should be my second frame, not this one. So I'm going to turn the other one off. Well, that looks pretty good. And now I can just, because I'm past middle, I can just preview them by turning them on. And just find the right positions for them. And try to tell the story in the most interesting way possible. Now, this exposure feels a little weak to me, so I might try out some different options there. that seems to work pretty well. And now, save it. This is my finished storyboard. Because we flattened the layers, the adjustment layers are not affecting my white. Instead, I have a clean, even border around. And this is the piece I would print to show the documentation of time passing and transformation over time in a portfolio. And so now, I've already saved it as my storyboard final PSD. Now I simply want to save it as a JPEG. And it's pretty large. It's about 380 megabytes. So I want to make sure the JPEG is just under 5 megabytes. And then there are 3 things that I am going to submit up to PhotoBucket. And the first is my storyboard sketch. So I'll quickly save a JPEG of that to the desktop. The next is my animation file, and I want to use my looping one. And then the final is my finished storyboard. Not the PSD version, rather the JPEG version. So I mark my JPEGs with orange and my PSDs with green. So you're going to have 2 PSDs for this. One which is your animation, and this is what you can go back to and view your timeline under Window and play it through. And you have all your different exposures, and you have all of your different adjustment layers. And then the other Photoshop file you'll have is your storyboard, which has the flattened frames, but more than the 9 you need. It has all of them, so you could decide to tell the story in a slightly different way. And now the JPEGs that you will upload are right there. You're going to put it into the PhotoBucket album. And it is due, as it says on the course outline. What takes the longest time is lining up your shots, making sure the story is told consistently. The GIF animation is just a tool to help you line them up and help you see where discrepancies are. The real photograph is that storyboard. And we're already on assignment 11. Not many left to go. And then you just name them with your name and 1, 2, 3. Sketch animation storyboard. And the animations just have to be under 50 megabytes in order to play in PhotoBucket. There is some limitation on them. And that's why we scale down the size. But they will play right in PhotoBucket, which is very nice. Even though the colors are not optimal. That's just the problem with GIF animations. And I look forward to seeing all of your work.